And the latest debate out there sparked by, well, yes, some controversy, some investigations set to come out. We've said this for many, many months, but ESIC stemming from CSGO into Valorant, several pro players out there facing accusations, not just from the investigation, but from other pro players out there of match fixing in their past in Counter-Strike, and that may be following them into Valorant. It opens up a huge debate as organizations continue to sign some of these players with accusations. Now, I got a lot of respect for a lot of the players out there, but I'm going to name some people who have been named by other pro players. They have been named in clips by other pros. They've been suspected in the investigation. The investigation has not come out yet, so this is not 100% confirmed, but the fact that other pros are willing to say their names can be a bit concerning for organizations who sign people. It was actually recently at Rise Nation. They have signed both Calypso as well as Shanks. Shanks formerly of NRG, Calypso formerly of Envy, and they are actually two people who have been named by CSGO pros of match fixing, now being signed yet again in Valorant. With the investigation set to come out sometime soon, the giant lingering question is, if you're an organization and you find out either at the time of signing or after that you signed a previous fixer, what do you do?
I feel like they must have known, like they know going in that these allegations are out there, right? Like they're well aware of this and they still sign them anyway. So I wonder, this is a horrible way to look at it, but I wonder if they like have this in their head when they're signing them and they tell them like, hey, you've got these out here, maybe we'll pay you a little bit less, maybe your contract isn't quite as good as it would have been, and then after, if the allegations come back and they're not true or whatever, then maybe we'll talk again.
That's actually an amazing point, because a lot of the things, if you think about it, Valorant already has a lot of leverage because of the way that Valve treats, anyone they've caught fixing or anyone that's got with the VAC ban. So we see guys like iBuyPower get signed over to Valorant teams like T1 or 100 Thieves even. But that puts all the negotiation leverage on the side of the orgs in Valorant. Because Valve's like zero tolerance stance on that stuff means that even if they did it when they were very young, or if it was, a very minor offense, but they just got VAC banned for it, they can't really go back to compete at the top level of CSGO anymore. So it makes a lot of sense that Valorant's like snatching these players up because they're probably getting fantastic deals, because what other options do we have? Like, we saw it with Jampy. Jampy showed up. Jampy got signed to teams, but like Valve just would not listen and would not grant him an appeal, and then even he had to bail for Valorant.
Yeah, and I think it's very important as well. To your point, you have to imagine orgs do their due diligence, but some do not. We actually saw early on when we first thought the investigation was going to come forward, a couple orgs, one in particular, did drop some suspected players. And then those players, after months of the investigation maybe not coming out, they got signed yet again. So we don't know those behind the scene details. I like the fact that you bring up the former match fixers way back to the iBuyPower days, because that is certainly going to be very different than what comes out now. I think a majority of people out there realize iBuyPower in Counter-Strike match fixing, notorious, infamous, whatever you want to call it, was so long ago that not many people, some people, the haters, are going to keep on holding like Steel accountable for that kind of stuff because he's a very brash character. Those guys are often looked past because it's been long enough. A lot of these new match fixers are going to be very recent. They're going to have different reasons, different backgrounds, and of course stories that I imagine will come out from their sides. So how people treat these new match fixers, to me, is going to be incredibly interesting compared to the iBuyPower guys.
Yeah, that's a great point as well, because if you think about it, iBuyPower is so minimal compared to what's coming out now from what we're hearing. Like, you got Brax, like, allegedly didn't even get skins out of most of the matches, but they're throwing games for like a little bit of money in skins. This upcoming investigation is talking about like the FBI is involved. They're talking about massive gambling syndicates involved. We're talking about like huge legal repercussions. And so I think the other thing you have to consider is that Valorant hasn't so far signed a lot. Like you said, they signed the few guys that were sort of implicated and then dropped them, and now they've re-signed them. But I think they're being very cautious with this new wave of like alleged match fixers, because they know that not only might they not be able to play CSGO, these charges might be so serious that you might literally have your roster in jail. Like, you might wake up one day and be like, oh, well, starting 5 are in bars. They're behind bars. We'll see them in 6 to 8.
Yeah,
so it seems tough.
Then you could just cancel, like, you don't have to pay your contract, probably.
That is not how most contracts
work. You don't
work.
think so if they go to prison for match fixing?
I think that might be a way out.
I feel like they
No,
have a good
because
out.
here's the problem, though. They have to prove that they didn't know that ahead of time. And I think with a lot of these guys, at least with the big names, everyone knows. And if not, like they can't throw a morals clause at them if they're like, listen, when you signed me, I was under this massive cloud of match fixing suspicion. You can't act like you didn't know that.
Well, here's my counter to that. At least there seems to be some clauses out there. Compared to a starting salary, you also have a reduced bench salary. So if the jail bench counts as being benched on the roster, you're going to be paying them measly amounts of money.
I'm sure they won't collect full salary, and there is definitely a way to break those contracts. It just won't be like there's no like go to jail. It's not like Monopoly.
I don't
go to jail. Do not collect $200.
I don't think, and maybe this is just an idiot speaking, I don't think anyone's going to go to jail, and I really hope not. It wasn't a severe enough case to do that. We have unfortunately seen cases like that, over in China, much more severe. But can you imagine being in jail for match fixing in Counter-Strike and or Valorant, and then you're like, I'm still getting paid though. Like,
right. I mean, maybe that's a long game for them, but I mean, it feels like the perfect opportunity to me for these guys who, are under these allegations, and now they have a whole new game that is so similar, not the same game, but similar to CSGO, right, mechanic-wise, and they have this opportunity to sign to new orgs and leave, those allegations behind, hopefully, where, like you said, it's not Valve anymore, so Valve's not going to be able to punish them. They have Riot and a new game, and so, hey, start new, maybe start with a new organization, maybe do well.
And I thought that when Jake was talking about the prison talk, I thought Jake was going to be like, imagine these guys go to jail and their cellmate comes up to him and is like, hey, I'm in here for, armed robbery, alleged, maybe I beat up a cop, maybe I didn't, you don't know. But, let's say I shot a few people. What are you in here for? I threw a bunch of heels playing Sage.
Or like
nothing big,
Or he's like, I got an AK-47 Fire Serpent, so like, he's. Which
so worth it.
But I mean, let's just center this back for one last question. So if you're an org, kind of the question we want to ask all of you guys as well. If you're an org and you find out after the fact, oh shoot, you've just been confirmed a match fixer, what do you do? To me, I kind of want to keep it short and simple. I think it's very subjective. I think there will be organizations who want to start anew. And there might be some circumstances where it was for a measly amount of money, or maybe there was some desperate circumstances from pro players or some blackmail involved. We don't know. I think it's going to be very subjective, case by case, according to how players come out.
I would have acknowledged it in the contract with these people. I would have said, like, hey, you're under these suspicions. If they come out to be true, then this happens. If they don't come out to be true, then this happens. So just have a safety for myself.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to either drop some players or renegotiate salaries on a lot of players. And it probably depends on how desperate the orgs are and how desperate the players are on like a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
So if you sign a great player and he's implicated, but you still need to win, you can be like, listen, you're a match fixer. You know how we were paying you like $15K a month? Either we're going to drop you or that's going to be $8K a month, until time kind of heals everything.
Yeah, because if you're Rise, let's say this does come out and these are allegations, but if they are confirmed, you're down half a roster. Do you bite that bullet and you become the team that starts anew and keeps them going? Like, hey, we realized their past, but that was their past. We need a roster. We're going to keep on going. Or do you cut half your lineup?
If you're Rise, you have to know the rumors around those two.
I think you have to.
And you can't. Like, at this point, you've got to. You bit that bullet already. Like you're already past the starting line. Like the race is on the way. If you drop them now, it just makes you look moronic. And so you can't do that. You can't. Waste that money, waste that time. You know what was happening. You knew what you were getting, and you're paying for the talent. And you're at that point, you're willing to take the blowback of maybe some bad PR. So it would stun me if they got dropped, and it would be a really strange move on Rise's part if they did that after just signing them.
Investigations to come out soon. FBI apparently involved. We will see what happens in the Valorant space with potential CSGO and or Valorant match fixers. What would you guys do? We'll catch you back here in the next one. Take care.